All right, welcome to the November 27th, 2023 AnonCreds Working Group call. Looks like it'll be a quick meeting. We're going to go through the AnonCreds in W3C, highlight some PRs. I am getting some, possibly getting some help on some AnonCreds 2 stuff. So we've got a University of Toronto group, which is my alma mater, is asking about doing a bit of work in that. So I don't know how much that will mean, but I'm hoping I'll get a couple of things out of that. So I'll be talking to them this afternoon. Reminder that this is a Linux Foundation Hyperledger meeting, so the antitrust policy is in effect, as is the code of conduct. All right, so let's just jump into it. Artem, do you want to jump ahead? Tell us what you've been up to.
Yeah, two main items from my side. The first one is connected to the proof serialization approach. Last week we did some changes, and I created a merge request in CL signatures repository. Now crypto primitives like big nums and points, group order elements, and etc. Will be represented either in string decimal form or in bytes form, depending on some CRD flag. It's called is human readable, and JSON CRD library set as true, but message pack set as false. And I did comparison of different serialization algorithms, and message pack gave me the most compact value. And we used it in AnonCreds RS implementation for proof encoding, and I also updated specification section in AnonCreds specification for proof values to use message pack. Currently, we are working on adding more tests to improve coverage, because initially I just did couple end-to-end demo tests to debug the flow, but now we add duplicates for existing demos for legacy format to cover both cases. And another thing update, I'll share my screen. We prepared a demo. We integrated.
Quick question, hang on, Artem.
Okay.
The CL signature changes, that doesn't, or does that impact existing flows or anything like that? Is there any compatibility concerns we have to be worried about?
No, because previously we used JSON serialization, and this change do not impact this serialization flow. It only impacts message pack.
Excellent, good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, that was the only one that I saw as I read that. I assumed it not because of Andrew's review and so on, but I just wanted to, for my own purpose, ask.
Yeah, this is a reasonable concern, and here is a just unit test which demonstrates that JSON serialization is not broken.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Oh, and what was the improvement in compression?
Let me show. Here is the merge request in AnonCreds RS, and here numbers are received. This is the length on base 64 string. And about almost 2 times less smaller.
Yeah, perfect. Good, thank you.
Okay, regarding the demo, we did quick integration. We duplicated all flow methods, and we just directly put is W3C property into credential offer and proof request message original with messages which start the protocols. And let me run it. In this demo, issuer and verifier as suggested to choose which format to use. So let's issue credential. Yeah, here is a question.
Yeah,
Do you want to issue W3C format? Let's say yes. Like before, some setup on the issuer side, publishing schema and creddev. First send, yeah, it's here, accepted. And here are some logs for visibility. Here is the message credential, which was received and processed on the holder side. Here we are saving W3C credential. We just duplicated the storage, the repository, and store it. And here we does the conversion of W3C credential and store it as well.
excellent.
Second part, it's requesting a proof. Similarly, we are requesting what format to use, W3C or not. Let's say yes for now. Request is sent. Yeah, here is the proof which will send. This is in W3C form. Here is the verifier side. As expected, we received this format. Now we can, let's ask once again and request legacy format accept. Here's on the prover legacy format and verifier legacy format as well. And similarly on issuance, we also can issue legacy format. Accept. Here. And in logs, we see processing legacy credential, storing legacy as well first, and as next we do conversion to W3C and store both. This is it. Any questions?
Oh, that's awesome.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
My first question is seeing that the issued credential, the signature, like the proof in that, is that signature the value that they get from the issuer, or is it the value that they have transformed into the actual signature over the credential? Is it like the final signature value?
Like if I initially received in legacy format credential, we does conversion. In the spec, we described what value should be put here, and we construct it from the legacy form and put into W3C. And similarly, when we do it in back way, we know what's value is here. We process it and convert in legacy form.
I guess I'm just thinking, you know, if that is the actual signature over the credential, then this W3C credential, like it should never be shared, right, with anyone. That's what I'm like, really.
In let's say if you do signature using RSA key, for example, you just cannot derive different value. But in case of AnonCreds, you have a set of crypto primitives fields, their values, and you can easily construct different objects without losing trust.
Okay. guess I think it's just like about being careful. Like really, the whole point of AnonCreds is that some of the correlatable information isn't shared, but by putting this in a W3C credential format, people might get the idea that this is something that they could share just like other W3C credentials, but really nobody should be sharing their
Exactly.
AnonCreds credentials.
Yep. Yep, exactly right.
Yeah.
Timo?
Yeah, another question, but to comment on this part, but isn't this the like the proof over this specific credential, and that the presentation contains like the aggregate proof over like the link secret binding? Isn't that what this proof is, or is this actual the signature that the holder receives?
Regarding the presentation, the top level proof contains aggregated value in old form, and this credential it's not the same like in the original credential. It's a sub-proof, like if we refer to the format of the legacy presentation, it contained of two fields: sub-proof generated for each used credential and some aggregated value. And similarly, we put it here.
Okay, yeah. So I think then it's similar to how it also worked with, for example, BBS credentials, where you didn't have the aggregate one, but you got a credential with the BBS signature, and then when you presented it, you removed the BBS signature from the credential and you added the BBS signature proof to it. I think this is similar then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, no, my initial question was like, what do you use to send over the credential in W3C format in the presentation in the AFJ demo now? Which protocols?
This is issuance 01, like before. We just edited messages. We didn't introduce a different version, new version of protocols. We just hacked existing just to get demo fast.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, yeah, I was just curious, like, how you got this working.
What are you thinking of, Timo? Are you thinking we use the Indy one or we use the W3C one?
We were thinking a W3C one, but a new one, because the current one has like only supports a single proof type, and we want to like support issuing with multiple, and there were some limitations in that it doesn't support the needed fields that you need for AnonCreds issuance, like the offer needs to contain certain metadata and the request, and so we weren't sure how we can make it so that it's not like bloated with AnonCreds specific stuff, but can include some AnonCreds metadata. And we were thinking of, when we do that, we want to create a generic W3C issuance protocol, because the current one is JSON-LD, and one of the limitations we're facing now is that we can't issue JWT credentials over DITCOM. So we were thinking if we can create something that's a bit more dynamic, so it can just basically contain any W3C payload, and then it has like a formats registry. Think a bit like what the OpenID issuance thing also had, and then we could add one for data integrity proofs, we could add one for JSON Web Tokens, and we can add one for AnonCreds. So we see that as a different format within W3C credentials because of the different formats it needs. And I think then we can create something where the base payload for credentials is a W3C credential, but there's like different options. And then we can use that for like more purposes than just this AnonCreds one.
Okay, so what you're thinking of is that we're going to want to
Yeah, supersede 0593.
Yeah, okay, that's just where I was going, yeah, exactly. 593, yeah. Ah, right, okay. So we're just gonna, so what you want to do is sort of take this into a W3C credential attachment, W3C VC attachment.
Yeah,
And-
that's our
and-
thing.
And go from there.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then we would also see, because we were already thinking of like, okay, how are we going to do JWT issuance? And
Oh,
that was
good.
something we were thinking of anyway already. And it's either we create like a separate attachment format for each of them, but there's so much overlap that I think it's nicer to just combine them all.
okay. Okay, do you want to take a cut at that, or how do you want to get there? You want
Yeah,
to do a
so-
hack MD?
Yeah, I think we can do a HackMD, and then I
Okay.
can write the initial version because we have been thinking of it already, but like nothing concrete yet.
Yeah,
on
it's
paper.
really helpful if you have the JWT experience to add to that. I think that's awesome. The tricky part and interesting part will be what we do on the presentation request. Is that part of this? I believe so, right?
No, this is just
No.
issuance.
Just
That
issuance.
one is 510, I think.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, and here we've been thinking of like we don't fully support this one yet in AFJ, but Ekapai does support it.
Mhm.
Is defining because a presentation exchange is very complex, and you have like
Yeah,
10
exactly.
different ways how you can express the same request, basically, which is suboptimal for if you want to do something complex. So we were thinking of we create like an example presentation definition of how do you, like, basically a recommendation. If you want to do request an AnonCreds property, do it this way. If you want to do a predicate, do it this way, and with the limit disclosure. So we basically some guidelines on, okay, how do you construct a presentation exchange definition for the best interop. That's then what we target now between AFJ and Ekapai for the interop, and then later we can see how can we expand that, but that we at least have something that we work towards to on both sides, because otherwise I think it's maybe hard to do that.
Okay. Excellent, okay.
I have one final comment on this. Sorry to different. I just wondered if somebody could comment on like Manu's email, and he said something like, I strongly recommend you don't define a new context and should use data integrity proof.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that in a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Timo, I'm meeting with I have not yet met with the What's Cooking team. So I'm meeting with them later this week. I was hoping they would be here. They were actually here last week, but very quiet. So hoping they'll be here this week and we can go over these things and connect you and your team with them. Because obviously we want to do it exactly the same between the two implementations.
Yeah, we've had a meeting with them already.
Oh, good. Okay.
Last week. So yeah, in this week we wanted to get a bit more of our design on paper to share also, and then start next week with like in December with the development, really.
Yeah. Let me know what's going on with those. Happy to join in. If you know, but don't limit it because of timeline or time zones and all that. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's jump to Manu's questions. I was thinking about these. So I don't know if anyone saw Golda from What's Cooking sent a note to Manu about what he wrote. a while ago on a chain when this work first started, and did a follow-up with him, and he wrote this note that basically asked two questions came out of it from my perspective. One was, do we do with VCDM 1 or 2 is the first one, and the second one is, do we add a AnonCreds specific context? Because we are not doing an JSON LD processing on that, I think my leaning is we continue to stick with 1.1, if only because if we're using this with anyone who's using this, that if we attach, so independent of this work, you can attach a second signature, like a NIST signature or a data integrity NIST signature. It is much more likely that if this gets used in the wild, they would have a 1.1 versus a 2. So I don't think that would affect anything on the AnonCreds side, whether we did 1.1 or 2. But it's more likely that we would use that we would see others that use 1.1. Nobody, as far as I know, has implemented 2.0 in the wild, given that it hasn't even been approved, and the text is still a little bit floating. Will, any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I'm not sure how. I don't have thoughts on VC 1.1 versus 2, and I don't understand data integrity proof enough to know how we would realize the AnonCreds stuff with only using data integrity proof. So I don't know. I need to look into it more.
Sorry, say that last bit again.
I don't know. Yeah, I need to look into it more. I think the data integrity proof stuff is a proof, and then within that proof, you can specify the type of signature scheme that you're using, right? Yeah. So maybe
to be clear, we are using a data integrity proof on this. That is what we're doing, and we're using the techniques of a data integrity proof. The VC format adds some constraints, some opinion to the data integrity proof. It's got to be a data integrity proof, but it also has to have this field and this field in it, and things like that. I'm not sure enough. I did a quick look last night to look at the difference between the two, because as a holder we would get these and we would not do any JSON LD handling. We're not so concerned with which context we're using. Like, we would not, we would, statically load if we needed to, whichever context we need. We wouldn't actually do JSON LD processing on it, which is, as I understand, best practices on something like this. You receive it, and because you receive many different types and you can't have all the context, you don't actually do JSON LD processing until you are, for instance, a verifier, and you want to verify specific ones that you understand, and you would preload those contexts. So the only thing I don't know is in addition to the, what Manu pointed out as being the, the difference in the context line, the V2 versus the V1. I'm not sure what other differences there are in the spec of what field names need to be and what JSON items need to be. So that's a little bit. The other one, though, was this idea of, and if AnonCreds needs to define new property, which I'd strongly advise your VC ends up with this context. And what he was talking about there is we would have a and AnonCreds line in here. And right now, we intend to have an AnonCreds line. And that's correct, Artem. We would have an AnonCreds context.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, this is what it would be, which is actually pretty short. It's much shorter than the one Andrew had proposed.
It's about the same.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it got shorter because we dropped mapping and just small reduction.
Okay.
But mostly same.
And so it basically talks about the extra schema property, the encoding, and then AnonCreds proof and AnonCreds predicate, which we would, I believe, need. But these, I think we need these. So I don't know enough about JSON LD, and I'll probably go back to Manu and ask, I don't know what we think is the best way, but I'm not sure of this, why we cannot have a new context, or why he recommends against it. So
I think one of the things Manu is suggesting is these AnonCreds proof types would be replaced with data integrity proof, right? And then we'd sort of specify a subtype of integrity proof somewhere.
And we do that already.
Oh, okay.
I think what that amounts to is anything that we put into the proof is taken care of by that type.
I think what Manu means is that there's really a new proof type now that is called data integrity proof. So the value of the type will be data integrity proof, and then within that you can now have like specify which crypto scheme you're using. So instead of like having ED25519 signature 2018, all the types will be the same, which is we're not using that type. We have defined a custom AnonCreds proof type.
Right. Yes. And that'll all reside, and that covers everything. So we have two strategies then. One is that everything within the proof section, we can put whatever we want in it, right? And we can define them to be whatever. And so we take anything that's AnonCreds specific and we generally move it into that. But there's a few things that are outside the proof that we need to define, and that's where we are right now. So if we look at, sorry, I keep bouncing around. These things that we're talking about, like the encoding, whether it's auto encoded or not, and you know, this one we could probably drop it. But things like the predicate, I think, are outside of the proof section. And that's why they wind up getting defined in this context. And the question is can or should we shrink this to get rid of this context, so we don't, just to follow Manu's advice, do we get rid of this?
I think it's going to be very difficult because we need to define the cred thing stuff, right? But that's like a schema type.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could get rid of some of the proof defined in here and just use data integrity proof and go.
Right. I think, and as I say, largely that's what we've done. But definition and schema, I think, are needed, and so it's going to be difficult to get rid of those.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll keep pursuing this question a little further. And this we've got to take care of quickly because we want to wrap up the work Artem and his team's doing. Okay. All right, I'll try to, if anyone can help out with these, I'll see what I can do to move this forward and understand what's needed. It's really helpful. Artem, your demo that you did, I assume that's in a GitHub repo we can access, so we could clone it and run it locally and things like that.
Yeah, it's in this fork. I'll share the branch name.
Excellent. Okay, good.
I added to the page of the meeting.
Okay. Sorry, where did you put it?
Right here, this page you are sharing. Not put yet, I'll do after the call.
Oh, okay, got it. Got it. Perfect. Okay, yeah, because I think that would really help, because that gives us some solid examples to talk through of the you know, what the formats look like, where things move between the legacy and the signature. One thing I was looking for while I was while you were speaking was, is there a message pack unpacker, online unpack utility?
Actually, I don't know.
How do you unpack like what are the, you know, when you take a base 64 encoded, you can just pass it into an online utility and decode it. Is there such a thing for message pack? In other words, to be able to see what's in the message pack? Is that what you do?
I only tested through the tests for Rust.
Okay.
The demo I did today is based on the main implementation branch, which is not using message pack, and
okay.
you can decode it.
Okay, so it's just base 64 then.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's obviously very helpful when you're looking at it. You're seeing exactly where things are getting moved, because all we're doing is moving the different items. Okay, excellent. That's helpful. Okay, any other topics for today?
I just have a quick comment, which is last week you merged my PR, that's fine. But I think we should still be updating the diagram, but kind of
yes,
me to do that.
Yes. Sorry about that. I will.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. So
did an issue get created? I had thought I had made an issue, but maybe I didn't, or I thought you had made an issue.
No, there is an issue. Yeah. So
okay,
yeah, still
I will do that right after the call. I'll put an issue in, and we'll get that updated.
Cool.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for mentioning that. Okay.
Sweet.
Excellent. Thanks all. We'll talk again, and Artem, probably wrap up your work next week or so. Awesome work. And Timo, as I say, I'm meeting with What's Cooking, and you guys keep meeting, but do fill me in, and as you share HackMDs on both the new attachment format and on what you want to do with presentation, let me know.
Yeah, will do.
Awesome. Thanks, Timo. Have a great one, folks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.